Okay, students, we are having, I feel that specific six classes this for month of November. So, form fill up starts from 17th or 18th of this month. Your form fill up and it will end in the month of November, particularly on 7th of November. But thereafter, students, your examination starts from practical examination from 15th of December. So anyway, we must have to complete alternative English by October. So if you provide at least consume certain time relating to extra classes, we will take the permission of Chinmay sir and thereafter we will hold classes by October. If you complete it, thereafter we will get at least 1 month for model question answer discussion. Unless and until we go through model question answer, our result would not be effective or presumptive, because this year you will secure much more marks in alternative English, particularly this year because the pattern has been changed. So give me the book on this. If time permits tomorrow, particularly tomorrow is a holiday, we can also take extra classes relating to alternative. If you are affordable, if you are getting time, then I can also presume the extra classes from Mr. Try to focus on each and every subject because we have so many chapters till now. Till now we have three more chapters. We have completed Watchmen. Watchmen has been completed. Three is left. So no, thereafter the hour of truth. Only two chapters are there. And that book, another book is there. The Underworld of Zen. Four more chapters are there. Still, then they are long. The chapters are very lengthy. That's why I feel that if we suffer for extra classes, we will take on holidays. Then under there we can cover it by October. And November we have alternative questions. Alternative questions are ready. ଆଉ ଅଲ୍ଟରନେଟିଭ ମଡେଲ କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚିନ୍ କେବଳ କରିବା ନଭେମ୍ବର ମଡେଲ କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚିନ୍ ଆନ୍ସର ସାମ୍ପଲ ପେପର ଗୋଟେ ଅଛି ମୋର ପ୍ରିୟାଙ୍କ ପାଖରେ ଆଉ ଯାହା ମଡେଲ ଆସିବ ପରଚେଜ କରିନେବ ବହୁତ ବଢିଆ ହବ ମଡେଲ କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚିନ୍ ଆନ୍ସର ଡିସ୍କସନ କରିବା ଟୋଟାଲ ନବ okay students relating to tree we have covered up around section 1 has been completed. Where to start? Only 3 points. It is written by students Manoj Das and yesterday we are also discussing relating to mystery of the missing cap. It is particularly relating to science students. So Manoj Das, the pioneer, I mean the veteran, relating the bilingual literature inscription. Flood waters never entered this village, although hardly a season passed without the river playing havoc with the villages a couple of miles downstream. The people down there knew when to go over to their roofs or perch on the trees. After 3 or 4 days, they descended and took it again. Listen here, students. When we consider about the situation of afforestation, if there would be large scale afforestation, it will permit the rainwater get down. Come in, Priyanka. So most of the time, owing to cutting down of a trees, owing to deforestation, actually the climatic condition is not proper. The climatic condition is not as usual. That's why students, we suffered a lot. And another thing, students, it is the preoccupation of different seasons. If there will not be actually bitter cold in case of winter, that would be extreme heat in some. So we must be presumptive to different seasons. प्रत्येक सीजन रो जो वैल्यू अछि प्रत्येक सीजन रो जो नेचर अछि हमें तो मानिया को पड़िबो वर्षा सीजन रे जदि नदी नाला सब सुखिला पड़िला ताले एटा ऑटोमेटिकली क्लाइमेटिक कंडीशन को हार्म करी आ नेक्स्ट गोटे कथा रहउची हमें जदि देखिबा जे जेतेबेले आमे कटिंग डाउन करूचे पर्टिकुलरली ट्रीज गुडा को सेतेबेले हमरो क्लाइमेटिक कंडीशन प्रॉपर होंद होनी हम लाइफ कंडीशन मध्ये हमको सुइटेबल that happens to be but even though the flood did not enter this village it enabled at the high ridge and once in a while bubbled up a chunk of the grassland stretching along the bank most of the time you listen to this when there is high flood at that time the alluvial you must be knowing about कट्टु माटी जोटा ଯେତେବେଳେ କଣ କରେ ଯେ ସବୁବେଳେ ସ୍କାଟରିଂ ହେଇଯାଏ କଟୁ ମାଟି ପଡିବା ଦ୍ୱାରା କଣ ହୁଏ ଆମର ଜମିର ଉର୍ବରତା ବଢେ it makes the fertile of the landscape thereafter we can grow our rabi crops ଗୁଡା ଭଲ ହୁଏ ତେଣୁ ଆମେ ଯଦି ଦେଖିବା ତାର ପଜିଟିଭ ଆଉ ନେଗେଟିଭ ଇମ୍ପାକ୍ଟ କୁ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଗ୍ରାସଲ୍ୟାଣ୍ଡ ଗୁଡାକ ରହିଲା ସ୍ପ୍ରେଡିଂ ହେଇ ସେତେବେଳେ ମୋଷ୍ଟ ଅଫ ଦି ଟାଇମ ଯଦି ଆଲୁଭିଆଲ ପ୍ରକ୍ରିୟା ଗୁଡା ନ ଆସିଲା ସେ ମଧ୍ୟ ପ୍ରପର ୱେରେ କଣ ଫଙ୍କସନ କରୁ The villagers felt scandalized every time their familiar territories were expanded and to alien and began hissing. It gave the sort of shock which once experienced when a domestic animal suddenly went crazy, behaving wildly, not responding to any amount of endearment. One just looked on helplessly. Listen, students. Actually, what happens to be life is subject by certain type of punctuality. तम जीवन मो जीवन समस्त जीवन किसी पंक्चुअलिटी भितर वातावरण सृष्टि होची मैनेजमेंट होची हमको गोटे कौन सी प्रकार अलार्म आसुची गोटे सतर्क घंटी आसुची एवं सतर्क घंटी हमको किए दउची ना टाइम दउची 9टा बाजिला अर्लियर उठ प्लस 2 सेकंड ईयर प्लस 3 रे तुम के कहिबेनी प्लस 2 फर्स्ट ईयर रे के कहु नथिबे इट इज वन टाइप ऑफ एक्चुअली टाइम मैनेजमेंट इन ए सिमिलर वे स्टूडेंट्स व्हेन एक्चुअली अकॉर्डिंग टू द राइटर जेतेबेले विलेज रे प्रॉपर वे रे कोनसी प्रकार रो क्लाइमेटिक कंडीशन फंक्शन होनी आमे सेतेबेले निंदा करू कोन आमे करिबा निंदा काकू करूछु बेसिकली स्टूडेंट्स जेतेबेले अधिका गरम होउची हम कहते कोन मोटा एते गरम होउची अधिका वर्षा होउची हम कहते कोन एते अधिका वर्षा होउची जेतेबेले अधिका शीत होउची हम अनकंफर्टेबल फील करछे सेतेबेले मते ब्लेम करछे गोटा अधिका शीत होउची सो एनीथिंग इज गेटिंग टू बी स्कैंडलाइज्ड our property our nature is getting to be scandalized because आमे जो जिनिस ऊपर फैमिलियर अच्छे से जिनिसटा केबे हार्मफुल हो बोले आमे चाहूना जे कोन से फैमिलियर जिनिस ऊपर कोन फैमिलियर जिनिस ऊपर मु जदी कहिबी तमर फेवरेट सब्जेक्ट होछ अल्टरनेटिव इंग्लिश रे तुम जदी स्टॉप स्कोरिंग कला देन यू कैन प्रेज इट जदी स्टॉप स्कोरिंग न कला यू कैन ब्लेम इट बट नेचुरली एफर्ट मस्ट बी देयर हम उद्यमटा रहिबा दरकार हाउ वी कैन सिक्योर मच मोर and that is what the villagers were doing it totally philosophical lekha hai mon rakho ite कहूनी जे देखो and that is what the villagers were doing when they suddenly realized that the situation was much more grave than they had imagined they heard a jogging and the faint sound of voices already tired and cracking they raised their lanterns at that the voices grew more plaintive the villagers strained their eyes to see through the darkness and the mist a few of them could make out the black lump passing on the ashes. Waters and shouted the only sensible advice that could be given to a boat caught up in the fast rush of a flood. Have patience as soon as it is done. The villagers downstream will throw ropes and save you. Keep on shouting, God be with you. Actually, students, listen. Excess no excuse. सब जिनिस गोटे लिमिट अछि वर्षा सीजन हमर मिनिमम आसबो 3 मास कि वर्षा सीजन आमे कंटीन्यूअसली फील करू पर्टिकुलरली जुलाई अगस्त सेप्टेम्बर वर्षा तले जुलाई अगस्त सेप्टेम्बर रे जदी आमे देखिबा रेन आदौ हेलानी किंतु देखियो पहिले लास्ट स्टेज रे एक्सेसिव रेन हो जो रेन ता कोन करबा आउट ऑफ आवर कंट्रोल इट क्रिएट सर्टेन टाइप ऑफ हाबुट आतंक सृष्टि करिवो पैनिक सृष्टि करिवो अर्थात कोन आगुरु वर्षा ही नथबो हठात वर्षा हे जिवो जो नदी नाला रे पानी फुल हे गेला एक्सेस रेन हेले कोन हो एम्बैंकमेंट क्रिएट करिवो आमे सेतबे कोन करिवो बोटिंग रे जीवा को हमको भय लागिवो आमे कोन करू रोप किछि कनेक्शन करू बोट सहित रोप किछि यदि बुडी लागी कोन हला लाइफ टा काले सेव हे जिवो कि बट इट इज यूजलेस. It is useless. You can't save a person from rope because the loss of the loss of the thrust or float of the water can make you something stringent. ପାଣିର ଏମିତି ସୁଅ ତମେ ବୋଟର ଗୋଟେ ଦୌଡ଼ିକି ଧରିଲେ କଣ ବଞ୍ଚିବ କେମିତି ସେଭ୍ ହବନି. In the other words, Manus Das is saying that when you are not presuming to a particular matter, when you are not presuming to a particular time, that at that time certain type of discouragement comes your mind going to excessive rain also. ଯଦି ଆମେ କଣ କଲେ ନା ଗଛ କାଟିବାନି ତାହେଲେ ଆମର କଣ ହବ ପ୍ରପର ୱେରେ ଗୋଟେ ରହିବ ଆମ ଲାଇଫ ଟା ସିଷ୍ଟମେଟିକ ହେଇପାରିବ ଠିକ ସିଜନ ଅନୁଯାୟୀ ରେନ୍ ପାଇବା. ନେକ୍ସଟ. Such boats generally came from the forest at the foot of the mountains where they went to collect timber. Sometimes they were given another stock advice, throw away the load and make the vessel lighter. But don't go too light. A too light vessel became a plague for the broken waves. Listen, if there will be no forests, how we can make boats? हमें केमिति boat तैयारी करिबो? Try to understand the point of Manoj Das. When we are cutting trees, at that time there is a lack of rain. When there is cutting trees, there is a lack of a boat. Still then, when there would be extremely rain, heavy rain, or high flood will come through, what happens to be? There is a need of a boat. If there is no woods, if there is no trees, how we can prepare a boat to cross across the river, to pass the river? That is a problematic situation. When we are cutting down the trees, at that time we are also lacking the spirit of the rain. There is a less downpour, and also when we are not preparing the boats, it is not easy to cross the rivers. The leaves scattered incessantly their family. Language of hope and courage. The innumerable boughs that spread overhead had been the very symbol of a protection for generations, affording shelter not only to those who bore love and regard for the tree, but even to such people who had been imprudent towards it, of course. So far as the latter were concerned, only after hobbling them to their knees, the elders would point at a mound covered with grass and shrubs, not far from the tree, while cities the ancient most proof of this fact. The mound had decayed through centuries, but it was still as high as a twin. They did not expect anyone to ignore a fact so solid and as high to men. Listen, going to the clarity of our climatic condition. If our climatic condition is not perfect, actually we are taking different kind of initiation. You must be saying, you must be knowing, say no to polythene bags. One of the report writing. Say no to polythene bags. What happens to the students? When we are setting no to polythene bags, at that time, the measure is taking only for 3 or 4 days or 3 or 4 weeks, or 1 week at least. Thereafter, it is repercuting itself. ତାପରେ ଏଇଟା କୁଆଡେ ପଳେଇ ଯାଉଛି ଆମେ ଦେଖୁଛେ ପଲିଥିନ୍ ବ୍ୟାଗ ଯଦି ନ ହବ ଆମ ଲାଇଫ୍ ବୋଧେ ଆମେ କିଛି ପାଇପାରିବୁ. ଟିଫିନ୍ ଆଣିଲେ ପଲିଥିନ୍ ବ୍ୟାଗର ଆବଶ୍ୟକ ଅଛି. ମାର୍କେଟରୁ ଗ୍ରୋସରୀ ଆଣିଲେ ପଲିଥିନ୍ ବ୍ୟାଗର ଆବଶ୍ୟକ ଅଛି. ଇଭେନ୍ ରେନ୍ ରୁ ପ୍ରୋଟେକ୍ସନ ଯଦି ଆମେ ପାଉଛେ ପଲିଥିନ୍ ବ୍ୟାଗର ପ୍ରକୃତ ରିକ୍ୱାରମେଣ୍ଟ ଅଛି. Yesterday also I experimented myself students after completing the classes here from 7 o'clock. I started to go to Jagatpur because at that time, particularly 7:30 to 9:30, I have 3 classes. Plus to science students there. But students in the middle of the Jobra Bridge, it rained. You must be knowing about. It rained, cats and dogs. I have nothing else. I have 20,000 rupees in my pocket. One thing, and another thing is that my mobile. But students, luckily, most of the time I kept a polythene. Maximum time I kept it. And perhaps it will be with me now also. Maximum time. Bhagavad Gita and I found that it rained, how we can go? And I was also riding a cycle to get exercises. I became bamboozled where to go in the middle of the road, middle of the bridge. I cannot return to College Square or College Chowk or thereafter to Jagatpur. But I became thrilled or trembled because the cycle was on to go there. Going to the extreme rain. Heavy rain was there. The evening students. So I just protected my mobile phone in the middle of the bridge. But my course I could not draw it together because almost all this way operating now and I totally drenched. So how I can take it? Staying there up to I just let my cycle on the footpath, but sat like this, and there is thunderstorm means 7 or 8 thunderstrokes. Those are of a dangerous level. Just before me, just before, but where I can go. Then after I started just letting the cycle and not pedaling, but keeping it handle and trust it. I reached the 8:30. It took me 1 hour. Almost all my actually notes are being of 500 rupees were raised, but there is power cut. Power cut. Almost all the things students were raised, and my books almost wet. And till now, with certain problems, with that line, there to form, we have no connection. So my point of view is that students, most of the time we are displaying that we must not use polythene bag. But a polythene bag, we can't use it. We must not use it. There must be some type of alternative. What type of bag we will use? Suppose Tanu and others hostel girls are going there, actually collect their tiffin. Thereafter, making certain type of maybe Italy, maybe Bara, the Davigara part they are going to their hostel. At the time that they are taking the help of the polythene bags. So students and the polythene bag or polythene is not with me yesterday. My mobile phone maybe totally damaged. Try to excessive rain yesterday. So that polythene bag to protected my mobile phone as well. Really, I feel the basic entities of my life at the present. So when we are talking that how we can take certain type of initiative, students at least certain age we are becoming conscious, but thereafter we are becoming presumptive. We are not asking our old ideas, our ancient patterns of lifestyle. What is traditional we are preoccupying, and what is modern that is spreading with ourselves. So students, listen to this point. It will make your concept clear. Such boats generally came from the forest at the foot of the mountains we have gone through. Okay, student, the leaves. The leaves chattered incidentally their ephemeral language of hope and courage. The innumerable boughs that spread overhead had been the very symbol of a protection for generations. Actually, if you go through the quality of the trees, students, you just must have certain type of siblings, certain type of a nursery birds you must have kept in your houses. ତମ ଘରେ କଣ କରିଥିବ ଛୋଟ ଛୋଟ ଗଛ ଲଗଉଥିବ ଅଲମୋଷ୍ଟ ମୁଁ ବି ତମକୁ ଆଡଭାଇସ୍ କରୁଛି ସମସ୍ତେ ମିନିମମ ଫୁଲ ଗଛ ହଉ କି ଯେକୌଣସି ଗଛ ହଉ କିଛି କିଛି ତମ ଘର ପାଖରେ ଛାତ ଉପରେ ହଉ କିମ୍ବା ଆମ ବେସିକାଲି ଗ୍ରାଉଣ୍ଡ ଏରିଆରେ ହଉ ଯୋଉଠି ଆମର ରହିଛି ଲନ୍ ସେଠି ଆମେ ପ୍ଲାଣ୍ଟେନ୍ କରିବା ତମେ ଗୋଟେ ଛୋଟିଆ ଗଛକୁ ଲଗାଅ ସେ ମଞ୍ଜିଟା ପଚିଥିବ ସେ ଗଛଟାକୁ ଧୀରେ 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 ବଢେଇକିରି ଚାଲ ଦେଖିବ ସେ ଗଛଟା ଯେତେ ବଢୁଥିବ ତମର ସେତେ ଗୋଟେ ଏନକରେଜମେଣ୍ଟ ଆସିବ ଇନ୍ ଏ ସିମିଲାର କେସ୍ ଘରେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ବାପା ମା ଆମକୁ କଣ କରୁଛନ୍ତି ଛୋଟବେଳେ ଗଢି ତୋଳି 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 ପ୍ଲସ ସେକେଣ୍ଡ ଇୟର କଲେଣି ତାଙ୍କ ମନରେ ବହୁତ କିଛି ହସ ଆସୁଥିବ ଖୁସି ଆସୁଥିବ ମୋ ଝିଅ ମାନେ ପାଠ ପଢୁଛନ୍ତି ଅଲ୍ଟରନେଟିଭ ଇଂଲିଶ କରୁଛନ୍ତି ସମସ୍ତେ ଯାଇ ଜେଏନୟୁ ଇଂଲିଶ ପିଏଚଡି କରିକି ଆସିବେ ଭଲ ଭଲ ଗଭର୍ଣ୍ଣମେଣ୍ଟ କଲେଜରେ ଲେକ୍ଚରସିପ କରିବେ ମନ୍ଥଲି ସାଲାରୀ ମିନିମମ 60,000 ସେତେବେଳକୁ ତମ ମାନଙ୍କର ସବୁ ଫେସ୍ ଭ୍ୟାଲୁ ଚେଞ୍ଜ ହେଇଯାଇଥିବ ଆପିୟରାନ୍ସ ଚେଞ୍ଜ ହେଇଯାଇଥିବ ଷ୍ଟାଇଲ ଅଫ ଟକିଂ ଚେଞ୍ଜ ହେଇଯାଇଥିବ ଆଉ ତମ ବ୍ୟାଙ୍କ ବାଲାନ୍ସ ବି ଚେଞ୍ଜ ହେଇଯାଇଥିବ can it amount ଯେତେବେଳେ ପାଇବ it will modernize your nature as well as character and living style in a similar fashion ଯଦି ଆମେ ଦେଖିବା ଗୋଟେ ଟ୍ରୀ ର maximum part ଟ୍ରୀ ଆମକୁ shelter ଦଉଛି ଟ୍ରୀ ଆମକୁ protection ଭୀଷଣ ଖରା ହଉଛି ଖରା ହଉ ମନରେ ମନ ଦୁଃଖ ନାହିଁ ଆମ ମନରେ ଦୁଃଖ ନାହିଁ ଆମ ମନରେ ଭାବନାର ପରିପ୍ରକାଶ ନାହିଁ still then we are very sensitive to our hygienic sector ଖରା ହଉଛି ଟିକେ ଗୋଟେ ଗଛ ତଳେ ବସିଯାଅ ଗଛ ତଳେ ଯୋଉ ନ୍ୟାଚୁରାଲ ୱିଣ୍ଡ ପାଉଛେ ଆଉ ଏଠି ଯୋଉ ଆମେ କିଣିକିରି ଟାଟା କମ୍ପାନୀରୁ ୱିଣ୍ଡ ପାଉଛେ ତା ଭିତରେ ଫରକ ଅଛି ଏଠି ମନେ ରଖ ଛାତ ଯେତେବେଳେ ତମକୁ ଗରମ ହେଇଯିବ ୱିଣ୍ଡ ଆମକୁ ଗରମ ଲାଗେ କିନ୍ତୁ ଗଛ ମୂଳେ ଗଛ ପତ୍ର କେବେ ଗରମ ହେଇକିରି ତା ଗରମ ହାୱା ପାଇଲଣି କି ପାଇ ଗଛ କଣ କରୁଛି ଆମକୁ ଦେଖିନିଅ ପ୍ରୋଟେକ୍ସନ ଦେଲା ରିଲେଟିଂ ୟୁ ମଷ୍ଟ ବି ନୋଇଂ अबाउट ऑक्सीजन ଆଉ कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड जो इनहेलेशन एक्सहेलेशन से गुटे सपोर्ट देला नेक्स्ट रहिला कोन सॉइल कंजर्वेशन कला गछर रूट टा सपोर्ट देला नेक्स्ट रहउची पिले हम ए चाहिबा गछर जो बॉक्स जो ब्रांचेस गुडा कर रहिला से गुडा शेल्टर देला और प्रोटेक्शन देला एक्सट्रीम हीट ऑफ दिस Affording shelter not only those who bore love and regard for the trees. ଗଛ ଯେତେବେଳେ କହେ ନା ଯେ ନାଇଁ ଇଏ ଲର୍ଣ୍ଣିଂ ରେ ଇଣ୍ଡିଆର ପିଲା ମତେ କିଛି ଛାଇ ଦେବେନି, ମୁଁ ଦେବି କୋଉଠିକାର ନା ଶ୍ରଦ୍ଧାଞ୍ଜଳି ଛୁଆଙ୍କୁ ଛାଇ ଦେବି। ଗଛର ସେମିତି ବାତାବରଣ, ଗଛ ଭିତରେ ସେମିତି ଡିସ୍କ୍ରିମିନେସନ ନାହିଁ। ଗଛ has certain type of, the tree has certain type of universal love and affection. But even to such people who had been put towards it, of course, so far as the latter were concerned, only after hobbling them to their knees. Actually, students, what is the reason? ଗଛକୁ ବି ବହୁତ ଲୋକ ପୂଜା କରନ୍ତି, ଯୋଉମାନଙ୍କର ବିଶେଷ କରି ଆମର ଆଷ୍ଟ୍ରୋଲୋଜି କହୁଛି କିଛି କିଛି ପିଲାମାନଙ୍କର ରହିଥାଏ ପ୍ରୋବ୍ଲେମ ତାଙ୍କ ଜୀବନରୁ, କୋଉ ଗଛକୁ ପୂଜା କଲେ ଆମର କଣ ଉପକାର, ବିଭିନ୍ନ ପ୍ରକାର ତାର ତଥ୍ୟ ଅଛି, ବହି ମଧ୍ୟ ଅଛି। ତ ବହୁତ ଇଣ୍ଟରେଷ୍ଟିଂ ଲାଗିବ କୋଉ ଗଛ ପୂଜା କଲେ ଆମକୁ ଭଲ ଅଛି। ଗୋଟେ ପିଲାର ଆଷ୍ଟ୍ରୋଲୋଜିକାଲି ତାର ଜାତକ ଦେଖିଦେଲେ ଜଣା ପଡିଯିବ ଇଏ ହଉଛି କୋଉ ଗଛର ଲଭ। ଆଷ୍ଟ୍ରୋଲୋଜିକାଲି ଦେଖିଦେଲେ ହେଇଯାଇପାରିବ ଇଏ ହଉଛି କୋଉ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କ ଡିଭୋଟି। ଆଷ୍ଟ୍ରୋଲୋଜିକାଲି ଦେଖିଦେଲେ ଜଣା ପଡିଯିବ ଇଏ କୋଉ ସବଜେକ୍ଟ ଉପରେ ଏମପିଲି ପିଏଚଡି କରିବ। ଯଦି ଜଣଙ୍କ ଜାତକ ଦେଖିଲେ ପ୍ରେଡିକ୍ସନ ଇଜ ଦେୟାର, କହିହବ କୋଉ ଲାଇନ ଉପରେ, ଟେକ୍ନିକାଲ ଲାଇନ ଉପରେ କି ସିଭିଲ ଲାଇନ ଉପରେ କି ଲିଟରାଲ ଲାଇନ ଉପରେ କି ପୋଏଟିକ ଲାଇନ ଉପରେ ଡେଭଲପମେଣ୍ଟ କରିବ। ସେଥିପାଇଁ ଷ୍ଟାରରେ ସବୁ ପ୍ରିଲୋକେସନ ଅଛି, ସେ ଲୋକେସନ କୁ ବେଶ କରି ଆମେ ଜଜ ଯେମିତି କରିପାରୁ। ତାହେଲେ ଆମ ଲାଇଫ ଷ୍ଟାଇଲ ଭିତରେ ମଧ୍ୟ ଆମେ ସେଇଭଳି ଦେଖୁ, ଗୋଟେ ଗଛକୁ ଯାଉଛେ ତମେ ନିମ୍ବ ଗଛ ହଉ କି ପର୍ଟିକୁଲାରଲି ବେଲ ଟ୍ରି ହଉ, ହଁ ଏ ଗଛ ମୂଳେ ଯାଇକି ଆମେ ମୁଣ୍ଡିଆ ମାରୁ ନା ଠାକୁର ବୋଲି ଭାବିକିରି, ନିମ୍ବ ଗଛକୁ ମୁଣ୍ଡିଆ ମାରୁ, ବେଲ ଗଛକୁ ମୁଣ୍ଡିଆ ମାରୁ। ବେଲ ଗଛରେ ଗୋଡ ବାଜିଗଲେ ଆମେ ବିଷ୍ଣୁ, କାହିଁକିନା ବେଲ ଗଛ ସହିତ ବିଷ୍ଣୁଙ୍କର ସମ୍ପର୍କ ଭଲ। ଯଦି ନିମ୍ବ ଗଛରେ ହେଲା ବିଷ୍ଣୁ, ବିଷ୍ଣୁଙ୍କର ସମ୍ପର୍କ ଭଲ। ଯାହା ଘରେ ଗୋଡ ବାଜିଗଲା ଆମେ ତାକୁ ବିଷ୍ଣୁ ବୋଲି ସମ୍ବୋଧନ କଲୁ, ତାମାନେ ଆମ ପାଇଁ କହୁଛନ୍ତି ପରମ ଦେବ। ପଇସା କହିବା ବେଲପତ୍ର ପୂଜା ମହାଦେବଙ୍କ ପାଖରେ ଦେବ। ଯେମିତି ପିଲେ ପ୍ରତ୍ୟେକ ଗଛକୁ ପୂଜା କରିବାର ବାତାବରଣ ଆମ ମଧ୍ୟରେ ଆସିବା ଦରକାର। ଯଦି ଗଛକୁ ଆମେ ପୂଜା କରିବା ତାହେଲେ ଅଟୋମେଟିକାଲି ଆମେ କିଛି କିଛି ପ୍ଲାଣ୍ଟେସନ। The elder should point at a mound covered with grass and shrubs not far from the tree, while citing the ancient most proof of this fact. The mound had decayed through centuries, but it was still as high as to men. They did not expect anyone to ignore a fact so solid as high as. Listen. We planted trees. Trees are our pre-occupants. Our life is subject by trees. Trees are supplementary and complementary to human life, the character to certain extent, and the living actually persistence is. So what happens to ଯେତେବେଳେ ଆମେ ଦେଖିବା ଟ୍ରି ଗୁଡାକ ଆମେ କଣ କଲୁ ପ୍ଲାଣ୍ଟେସନ କଲୁ, କେତେକ ଜାଗାରେ ଟ୍ରି ଗୁଡା ସପୋର୍ଟେବଲ ଆମକୁ ଦେଲାନି, କିନ୍ତୁ ବେଳେ ବେଳେ ଆମେ ଦେଖୁଛୁ ଯଦିଓ ଭଲ ଟ୍ରି ଗୁଡାକ ପ୍ଲାଣ୍ଟିଂ ହେଲେ ବଞ୍ଚୁଛନ୍ତି ନ ବଞ୍ଚୁଛନ୍ତି, କିନ୍ତୁ କିଛିଟା ଉଦାଳିଆ ଗୁଡାକ ତମେ ଦେଖିବ ସେଗୁଡାକ ବେଳେ ବେଳେ କଣ କରୁଛନ୍ତି ନା ସର୍ଭାଇଭ କରିବେ। ଯେମିତି ତମେ ଦେଖିବ ସବୁ ପ୍ଲେନ ଅଞ୍ଚଳରେ ଆମର ଯୋଉ ଗଛ ଗୁଡା ହେଲା ଆମ୍ବ ପଣସ ଗଛ ହଉଛି, ସେଇଭଳି ଯଦି ଆମେ ଦେଖିବା ବିଶେଷ କରି ଡେଜର୍ଟ ଏରିଆରେ ଆମର ଯୋଉ ଥମି ଟ୍ରି, କଣ୍ଟାଳିଆ ଗଛ ଗୁଡାକ, ସେ ସିଜୁ ଜାତୀୟ ଗଛ ଗୁଡାକ ସେଠି ପ୍ରକୃତି ବଞ୍ଚୁଛି। ସେ ଯାହା ବି ହଉ ମିନିମମ ଯଦି ଗୋଟେ ଗଛ 2 ଫୁଟ ଭଳି ବଡ ହେଇଗଲା ତାହେଲେ ଆମେ ଜାଣିବା ଆମ ଲାଇଫ ଷ୍ଟାଇଲରେ ଇଏ କିଛି ଆମକୁ ସପୋର୍ଟ ଦଉଛି ରିଲେଟେଡ ଟୁ ଇନହାଲ ଏକ୍ସହାଲ condition is concerned. The mound contained the reins of a certain king's palace. It was neither possible nor necessary to recall the name of the king who had built it, whether he had been of the solar or the lunar dynasty. What was frequently recalled was that he had dared to cut down a few branches of the tree to make room for this palace. Perhaps he had planned to cut more, perhaps even totally destroy the tree. But before he could do so, a terrific storm had broken out. The palace collapsed. The king and his family took shelter under the tree and were safe. The king clasped that the tree had wept. The storm subsided. ଯେତେବେଳେ ତମେ ଜାଣିଥିବ ପିଲେ ସୁପର ସାଇକ୍ଲୋନ ହେଲା 1999 ମସିହାରେ। 1999 ମସିହାରେ ଆମେ ଏଠି ବସିଛୁ, ତମେ କୁନି କୁନି ତ ଜନ୍ମ ହେଇନଥିବ, ତମେ ତ 2002 3 7 ବେଳକୁ ତମେ 2007 ଜନ୍ମ ହେଇଛ, ଏତେ କୁନି କୁନି ଛୁଆ ଗୁଡାକ। ତାହେଲେ ଦେଖ 1999 ମସିହା ବେଳକୁ ସେତେବେଳକୁ ମୋର ପୋଷ୍ଟ ଗ୍ରାଜୁଏସନ ପିଜି +3 ଫାଇନାଲ। ସେ ମୁଁ ଲକ୍ଷ୍ୟ କଲି ଯେତେବେଳେ ବର୍ଷା ପ୍ରବଳ ହେଲା ସେତେବେଳକୁ ଆମ ଗାଁରେ ଯେତିକି ବିଲ୍ଡିଂ ଥିଲା ଗୋଟେ ବିଲ୍ଡିଂ ଥିଲା ବୋଲି ସବୁ ହେଇଗଲେ ବଞ୍ଚିଗଲେ। ଆଉ ଇଭିନ୍ ଆମର ସେତେବେଳକୁ ଫର୍ନିସିଂ ହେଇନଥିଲା, ଛାତ ପଡି ଯାଇଥିଲା, ଡୋର ଗୁଡାକ ଲାଗି ନଥିଲା, ସେଠି ଖାଲି କପଡା ପାଲ ବାନ୍ଧିକି ରହିଗଲେ, ଘରେ ବଞ୍ଚିଗଲେ। ଆମର ସେଠି 8ଟା ଖଣ୍ଡେ ଫ୍ୟାମିଲି ଆସି ଘରେ ରହିଯାଇଥିଲେ। ହେଲେ ଏଠି ଗୋଟେ ବହୁତ ବଢିଆ ଷ୍ଟୋରି କୁହାହଉଛି। ଗୋଟେ ରାଜା ଥିଲେ ଯେ ଯେତେ ଗୁଡା ଗଛ ଅଛି ତାକୁ କଟିଂ ଡାଉନ କରିବେ, କାଟିକି ତା ଯୋଉ ପଟା ଥିବ, ପଟା ଟିକିରି ରାଜ ଉଆସରେ ସବୁ ବିଭିନ୍ନ ପ୍ରକାର ଫର୍ଣ୍ଣିଚର ଲାଇକ୍ ସବଷ୍ଟାନ୍ସ ତିଆରି କରିବେ। କିନ୍ତୁ ଏମିତି ହେଲା, ସେ ଗଛ କାଟିବା ପୂର୍ବରୁ ଗୋଟେ ପ୍ରବଳ କଣ ହେଲା, ଝଡ ସାଇକ୍ଲୋନ ଆସିଥିଲା, ରାଜାଙ୍କର ପ୍ୟାଲେସ ଭାଙ୍ଗିଗଲା। ଘର ଲୋକମାନେ ଦୌଡ଼ିକିରି ଗଲେ, କୋଉଠି ଯାଇ ପହଞ୍ଚିଲେ, ଗଛ ପଳେଇ ପହଞ୍ଚିଲେ। ଗଛ ତାକୁ ସେଲ୍ଟର କଲା। ଯିଏ ସେଲ୍ଟର ଦିଏ ତାକୁ ଟିକେ ଆମେ ଇମୋସନାଲି ଆଖିରୁ ଲୁହ ଗଡି ଆସେ। ଗୋଟେ ଟିଚର କିମ୍ବା ଷ୍ଟୁଡେଣ୍ଟ ଯିଏ ହେଇଥାଉ, ତମେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ସବୁ ଫେୟାରୱେଲ ନେଇକିରି ପଳେଇ ଯିବ, କାଲି ତମକୁ କହୁଥିଲି ଫେୟାରୱେଲ କଥା, ସେତେବେଳେ ମନରେ ଗୋଟେ ଇମୋସନ ଆସିଥାଏ କି ତମେ ଅବଶ୍ୟ ସମସ୍ତେ ଭାବିବେ ନାହିଁ ଆମେ କଣ ସାର୍ଙ୍କୁ ଭୁଲି ପାରିବୁ, ସାର୍ ଭାବିବେ ନାହିଁ ମୁଁ କଣ ପିଲାମାନଙ୍କୁ ଭୁଲି ପାରିବି। କିନ୍ତୁ ସମୟ ଚକ୍ରରେ ଆମେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଅଲଗା ପିଲା ଆସିଯିବେ, ତମ ମାନଙ୍କ ପ୍ଲେସମେଣ୍ଟକୁ ନେବେ, ତମ ଜାଗାରେ ସିଏ ବସିବେ, ଆଉ ଆମ ଟିଚରସିପ ବଦଳରେ ତମକୁ ଯେତେବେଳେ ନୂଆ ଟିଚର ମିଳିବେ, ଧୀରେ 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 କିଛି ନା କିଛି ସୋସିଆଲ ଡିଷ୍ଟାନ୍ସ ଆସୁଛି। କିନ୍ତୁ ମନେ ରଖ, ଯେତେବେଳେ ଆମର ମ୍ୟାକ୍ସିମମ୍ ଆଟାଚମେଣ୍ଟ ଆସେ ସେତେବେଳେ ଟିକେ ଆଖିରୁ ଲୁହ ଗଡିପାରେ, ବହୁତ ଅତ୍ୟଧିକ ଆନନ୍ଦ ହେଲେ ବି ଆମ ଆଖିରୁ ଲୁହ ଗଡିପାରେ। ସେମିତି ଗଛ ମୂଳେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଆମେ ସେଲ୍ଟର ନେଇଛୁ, ଆମେ ଜାଣିଲୁ ସେ ଗଛ ପ୍ରକୃତିରେ ତୁ ଆମକୁ ରଖିଛୁ, ସେତେବେଳେ ଆମ ଆଖିରୁ ଲୁହ ଗଡିପାରେ। So it is the view of Manoj Das that had we cut down the trees, our life would have been saved. ଯଦି ଆମେ ଗଛ ଗୁଡା କାଟି ଦେଇଥାନ୍ତେ, ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ସେଇ ପ୍ୟାଲେସ ଧୀରେ ଲଗେଇଥାନ୍ତେ, ପ୍ୟାଲେସ ତ ଭାଙ୍ଗିଲା ଭାଙ୍ଗିଲା, ଗଛ ଗୁଡା ନଷ୍ଟ, ଆମେ ଆଉ ସେଲ୍ଟର କୋଉଠୁ ନେଇପାରିବୁ? Try to understand the point of view. It depends upon our adjudication or pre-adjudication. ଆମେ ପ୍ରକୃତିରେ ଭାବିବା କୋଉ ଜାଗା ଆମକୁ ସେଲ୍ଟର ଦେବ, କୋଉ ଜାଗା ଆମେ କଣ କରିବା, ଟିକେ ସେଲ୍ଟର ନେଇପାରିବା, by which the protection of the environment, protection of the life, protection of a living condition could have been certain to certain extents. Perhaps he had planned to cut more, perhaps even totally destroy the tree, but before he could do so, a terrific storm had broken out. The palace collapsed. The king and his family took shelter under the tree and air said. The king clasped the tree and wept. The storm provided. ଯେତେବେଳେ କଣ କଲେ, କୋଳେଇ ନେଲେ ଗଛକୁ ଏବଂ ରାଜା କଣ କଲେ, କାନ୍ଦିବାକୁ ଆରମ୍ଭ କଲେ, ସେ ଷ୍ଟର୍ମଟା ସବସିଡାଇଡ ଅର୍ଥାତ ବନ୍ଦ ହେଇଗଲା। Further back in time, it was said the tree had taken off and gone to the Himalayas or other such meaningful places at the best of a certain great soul who lived under it. But that was in the era of truth, and in the absence of a concrete evidence like them to support this legend. Elders of the present generation spoke relatively less about it than at their predecessors. Actually, at the present scenario, we can find that it is the age of science and technology. We are developing the spirit. We are getting everything else. Then there is no substitution for trees. Trees ର substitution ଏ ଜାଗା କିଛି ଆସେନି। କାରଣ ଯଦି ଆମେ humanitarian perspective ରେ ଯିବା, tree plantation ଟା ଆମ ପାଇଁ ହେଉଛି be all at the end of our life. Plantation begins with their life and plantation ends with their life. ଯଦି ଗୋଟେ ଲୋକ ଜୀବନ କାଳ ଭିତରେ କିଛି ନା କିଛି ହାଇକରେ ପ୍ଲାଣ୍ଟେସନ କରେଇଲେ, ବହୁତ ରେଟରେ ପ୍ଲାଣ୍ଟେସନ କରେଇଲେ, it will help our future generations also and it will pave the way for sustainable. ଆମେ କିଛି ୟୁଜ କରିବା, ଆମ ଫ୍ୟୁଚର ଜେନେରେସନ ପାଇଁ କିଛି କରିବା ପାଇଁ ରଖିବା। ଯଦି ଗଛ ଗୁଡାକ ଟୋଟାଲି କାଟିଦେଲେ, ଦିନେ ନା ଦିନେ ଏଇଟା କଣ ହବ, everything convert itself to a desert. The plain area will be converted itself to a desert. So students, the trunk that had been once clasped by the king had decayed and disappeared since time immemorial. After sending down numerous shoots which had formed new trunks, the tree with its branches spreading over an acre, resting on these stones, had become an institution. Actually, students, going to the development of science and technology, of course, there is a replacement of substitution of iron-like substances. Iron-like substances ଜାଗାରେ ଆମେ କଣ କରୁଛୁ, ଏବେ କିଛି replacement। କିନ୍ତୁ ଏମିତି ଦିନେ ଥିଲା ସମୟ, ଆମର ସବୁ କିଛି ଇଭେନ୍ ବିନ୍, ବୋନ୍, ଆମର ଯୋଉଗୁଡାକ ସବୁ ଥିଲା ଘରର ବୋନ୍ କହିଲେ ଗୋଟେ ଖୁଣ୍ଟ, ଯୋଉ ଖୁଣ୍ଟକୁ ବେଶ କରି ଘର ତିଆରି ହଉଥିଲା, ଏଭ୍ରିଥିଙ୍ଗ ଇଜ ମେଡ୍ ଅଫ୍ ଉଡ୍। କିନ୍ତୁ ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ଆଉ ଉଡ୍ର ଏତେ ନାହିଁ, ବିକଜ ଦ୍ୟାଟ୍ ଇଜ ୱାଇଡ୍ ସ୍ପ୍ରେଡିଂ ବାଇ ଆଣ୍ଡ ସେପାରେସନ ଉଇ ଗୁଡା ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ଖାଇ ନଷ୍ଟ କରୁଛୁ। ତାର ସବଷ୍ଟିଚ୍ୟୁସନରେ ଉଡ୍ର ସବଷ୍ଟିଚ୍ୟୁସନରେ କିଛି ନା କିଛି ପ୍ଲେଟ୍, ଆଇରନ୍ ପ୍ଲେଟ୍ ହଉ କି ଆଲୁମିନିୟମ ପ୍ଲେଟ୍ ହଉ ଜିନିଷ ୟୁଜ କରୁଛେ। Till the then students ଆମେ ଦେଖିବା ଗୋଟେ ଘର ଯଦି ତିଆରି ହେଇଛି କାଠ ଘରରେ କାଠର ଛାତ ପଡିଛି ଯେମିତି ଆଜିକାଲି ବହୁତ ବଡ ବଡ ହାଇଟ୍ ର କଣ କରୁଛନ୍ତି ନା ଘର କରିଦଉଛନ୍ତି ରିଲେଟିଂ ଟୁ ଟାଇଲ ହଉ କି ଆଜବେଷ୍ଟସ୍ ହଉ କି ଟିଣ ହଉ ତାପରେ ପରେ କଣ କରୁଛନ୍ତି ତା ରୁଟିନ ଟାକୁ ତା ରୁଟ ଟାକୁ କଣ କରୁଛନ୍ତି ନା ବିଶେଷ କରି କାଠରେ କରିଦଉଛନ୍ତି ସେ ଘର ପୁରା ଏସି ଭଳିଆ କୁଲ କିନ୍ତୁ ନର୍ମାଲ ୱେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ସାଇଣ୍ଟିଫିକ ଡେଭଲପମେଣ୍ଟ ହଉଛି ଘର ଗୁଡା ମଧ୍ୟ ସବସିଡି ଡେଭଲପମେଣ୍ଟ ଷ୍ଟେଜକୁ ଆସୁଛି। At the foot of one of the trunks rested the tiny banyan bodies. He had no regular priest attached to her. Whoever so desired could approach her and sprinkle vermilion. In the course of generations, the vermilion frost had come to account for the greater part of the god's body. Debussy ordinarily did not prostrate themselves to her, but every day, while passing before her good enough for her to take cognizance of his or her devotion. In matters complex and formidable in nature, the villagers fled for the intervention of the famous deities of distant temples. But small issues were referred to her from time to time. Children in particular found her quite helpful in regard to crises arising from the undone homeworks or the ill humor of the pundits of the primary school lessons. Actually, if you consider about the development of Indus Valley civilization, industrial civilization and Indus Valley civilization, try to understand. Indus Valley civilization is of ancient civilization, and industrial civilization is of modern. So students from ancient to modern, that is important. So we can't avoid, we can't neglect the worshipping of a tree at the present scene. Most of the time, if a tree is of maximum years, actually we set certain type of formula. ଆମେ କଣ କରୁ କି ସିନ୍ଦୁର ଟିକେ ମାରିଦେଲେ କଣ ଲୋକ ଯିଏ ଯାଉଥିବେ just go ଏ ଠାକୁର। And you must be knowing about Daru Devata or at the initiation of Lord Jagannath for the particularly about new incarnation ଆମେ ଯୋଉଟା କହୁଛୁ ନବକଳେବର। ସେ ଯୋଉ ଦାରୁ ମାନଙ୍କର ମୂର୍ତ୍ତି ପ୍ରତିବର୍ଷ କଣ କରୁ ଆମର ନବକଳେବର ଯେତେବେଳେ ବି ସେତେବେଳେ ଚେଞ୍ଜ କରାଯାଏ। କିନ୍ତୁ କୋଉ ଗଛର ଆମେ ଯୋଉ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କୁ ପୂଜା କରୁଛନ୍ତି ପରମ୍ପରା ପ୍ରତିଷ୍ଠା। ତେଣୁ ଗୋଟେ ଗୋଟେ ଗଛରେ ଏମିତି ଗଛ ଅଛି ଯୋଉ ଗଛ ମୂଳେ କଣ କରିବା ଯଦି ଟପିକ ଇଜ କନସେପ୍ଟ ସୋ ଫର ଆଜ କନସେପ୍ଟ ଆମେ ଯେତେବେଳେ କଣ କରିବା ଟିକେ ସେଟ ସର୍ଟ ଟାଇପ ଅଫ ଫର୍ମୁଲିୟର କିଛି କିଛି ସିନ୍ଦୁର ସିନ୍ଦୁର ମାର୍କେଟ ସେଠି ଗୋଟେ ପ୍ରକାର ଆଟ୍ରାକ୍ସନ ଆସିଗଲା ଗଛ ଡେଭଲପ କଲେ ବା ଗଛ ମୂଳେ କିଛି ତପସ୍ୟା କଲେ। Now, most of the time, students, we are also guided by the humor of the bodies of the primary school. Actually, school teachers were taking predominant role for the development of the cultural transformation of the people of the locality, and they also did their work on the basis of their potentiality with the people suffered, and the most of the time you must be known also at the present scenario. And one side of a question was bicycle to me, perhaps before 2 or 3 classes that were related to sacrifices. Body class ଆମେ ବି ଜାଣୁଛେ ବହୁତ ଗଛ କୂଳରେ ବି ଲୋକମାନେ ବଢି ଦିଅନ୍ତି so the expectation, the respectation, and the improvisation of monasteries is that trees must be given certain protection, and because they also save our human civilization, so far as a rain or seasonal customs are. Season रे जो विभिन्न प्रकार आसुची पत्ता ताकू मते से फुलफिलमेंट करे थे तेणु ट्रीज को हमें केवल नेग्लेक्ट करिबा ना। The area before another trunk was the usual site for the village. Relecting beside the neighboring trunk, I stepped south, George moving in a leisurely ride could be found the much referred sacred pool of the village and other things. Actually, our life is subjected by, our life is most of the time guided by different type of religious beliefs. ବିଭିନ୍ନ ପ୍ରକାର religious କଥା ବାବଦରେ ଆମ ଜୀବନଟା ଗଢେ। ଆମ ଜୀବନ ମଧ୍ୟ କିଛି ନା କିଛି ଜୀବନ କାଳ ଭିତରେ ଆମ aspiration ହୋଇଥାଏ expectation। फिर भी students देखो when we consider astrologically or astronomically, both the senses are correct, and science also gives certain type of potentiality or requirement or recuperation relating to the perfectness of astrological qualities. So what happens to be when we consider that trees are sufficiently benedictory or beneficial for us. And another time is that trees are retrofitting our ideas relating to the coverage of a different type of sensitive activities. So when we actually, you must be knowing about Raja festival, the Raja festival, and when actually we favor swing, ଆମେ ଯୋଉ ଦୋଳି ସବୁ ପହଞ୍ଚେ ଦୋଳି ଆଉ ଗାଁ ଗହଳିରେ ଦୋଳିଟା ସାଧାରଣତଃ କୋଉଠି ଲାଗିଥାଏ ଗଛ and it has certain level of nature. And students also, most of the people, and you must be knowing when we sit before the tree, and you must have the prediction or knowing about stories relating to Gautam Buddha's concept of ideology of Buddhism. Gautam Buddha for the first time gave which sermon near Niranjana river and under a people tree. ଗୋଟେ ପିପଲ ଟ୍ରି ଔଷଧ ଗଛ ତଳେ ତାଙ୍କର ସମ୍ମାନ ଦେଇଥିଲେ ତେଣୁ ଟ୍ରି ଜାଗାରେ ଆମେ କଣ କରୁ ଟ୍ରି ଜାଗାରେ ଟିକେ ପ୍ରି ଅକୁପେସନ ଆସେ କିଛି ପ୍ଲେସମେଣ୍ଟ ଆସେ ଯୋଉଟା ଆମକୁ ସେଲ୍ଫ ସଫିସିଏନ୍ସି ବଢାଏ ଆମମାନଙ୍କ ଭିତରେ କିଛି କନଜରଭେଟିଭ ବା ନ୍ୟାରୋ ମାଇଣ୍ଡେଡ ଆଉଟଲୁକ୍ ସ୍ପ୍ରେଡ କରି ଆଉଟଲୁକ୍ ବ୍ରଡ କରିଥାଏ ଆଉ ସବୁଠାରୁ ଟ୍ରି ପାଖରୁ ଆମେ ଗୋଟେ କ୍ୱାଲିଟି ଚାହୁଁ ଇଟ୍ ଇଜ୍ ସେଲ୍ଫଲେସନେସ୍ ସେ ନିସ୍ୱାର୍ଥ ପରେ ସେବା ଆମକୁ କରେ ସେ ପ୍ରିୟଙ୍କାକୁ ଛାଇଦେବ ମନା କରିବ ତମକୁ ଛାଇଦେବେ ଦିଲ୍ଲୀପ ସାର୍ଙ୍କୁ ଛାଇଦେବ ନା it has some type of a universal law of affection so far as the potency of the individual is concerned. Next, students, in the afternoons of the bi-weekly market days, an old woman coming from a village on the horizon sat leaning against another drum, which is shacked half filled with greens and or drumsticks. The market still 2 miles distance was her food, but her needs she could declare with a quick toothless laugh at refused to serve her enemy, obliging her to sell her fair sitting. At sunset, she would rise and offer a handful of what still remained in her sack to the sacred. Listen. When there is a tree, maybe any type of a tree, aged personalities, young personalities, children, each and everybody takes shelter, takes a rest under the tree. And you see students when an old woman of the village moving here and there collect certain type of slums, collect certain types of actually begging materials. It is a design ki bhiksha or collect certain type of alms. Bhiksha collects karita hai. When it's sitting under the tree, when it's near the tree, what happens to at that time a bull takes rest under the tree. Suppose you must be knowing what a ଭିକାରୁଣୀ ଅଛି ସେ ଏଠୁ ସେଠୁ କଣ କଲା କିଛି କିଛି ଚାଉଳ କିମ୍ବା ଖାଦ୍ୟ ଜିନିଷ ମାଗିକିରି ଗଛ ମୂଳେ ଯାଇକି ରେଷ୍ଟ ନେଲା ରେଷ୍ଟ ଯେତେବେଳେ ନେଇଛି ସେତେବେଳେ କଣ କଲା ସେଇ ଗଛ ମୂଳେ ଗୋଟେ ଥିଲା କିଏ ଷଣ୍ଢ ସିଏ ମଧ୍ୟ ସେ ବୁଢୀ ଲୋକ ପାଖରେ ଆସି ବୁଢୀ ଲୋକ ଯୋଉ ଯେତିକି ଆଣିଥିଲା ଭିକ୍ଷା ହିସାବରେ କଣ ନା ଚାଉଳ ଖାଦ୍ୟ ପଦାର୍ଥ ସେ ଷଣ୍ଢକୁ କିଛି କଣ କଲା ଅଫର କଲା that actually Manoj is saying about we must not be hopeless while planting trees. Trees are not helping us, that doesn't matter. Still then, any other personalities is helped by the trees directly or indirectly. In a hollow, at the foot of another trunk resided a family of snakes, which had earned the reputation of being concentrated and harmless, and in the branches they have rested a legion of birds. ଗଛ ଅଛି ଗଛର ଗୋଟେ ଅଛି କଣ ଗୋଟେ ଟ୍ରଙ୍କ ଗୋଟେ ଗଣ୍ଡି ଅଛି ଯୋଉ ଗଣ୍ଡିଟା କଣ ନା ଭଲ କୋରଡ ହେଇଯାଇଛି ଫାଙ୍କା ହେଇଯାଇଛି ସେ ଗଛ ତାର କିଛି ଟ୍ରଙ୍କ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଗଛଟା ଫାଙ୍କା ହେଇଗଲା ତା ଭିତରେ ସେ ରେସିଡେନ୍ସ ନେଲେ କିଏ ସ୍ନେକ୍ସ ସ୍ନେକ୍ ମେଥଡ ଯେତେବେଳେ ନେଲେ ସ୍ନେକ୍ ଟା ସେତେବେଳେ ହାର୍ମଫୁଲ ସିଏ ହେବେନି ବିକଜ ଦେ ଆର ରେଷ୍ଟିଂ ଦେୟାର ବଟ୍ ଯଦି ଆମେ ଦେଖିବା ଅନ୍ ଦି ଟପ୍ ଅଫ ଦ ଟ୍ରି certain nests are prepared by the birds. ଗଛର ଅଗ୍ରଭାଗରେ ଆମେ ଦେଖିବା କିଛି କିଛି ପକ୍ଷୀ ମାନେ କଣ କରୁଛନ୍ତି ତାଙ୍କର ବସା ବାନ୍ଧିକି ରହିଛନ୍ତି they are also taking shelter, they are also feeling free, they are getting liberty to exert themselves so far as the natural or environmental condition is concerned. The tree was taken to be immortal by all without any having to be told about it. गछटा आम पई चिर अमर गछटा का हम केबे हेले भाबिबानी पई किछि काम करि गला immortality being an attribute of the gods it was the godly it is considered to be godly nobody would easily flout a decision that had been arrived at in a meeting under the tree गछर तळे आमे बेले बेले कोन करू बसिकरी 5 जन 7 जन बसिकरी मीटिंग कले कोन मीटिंग गोटे कले जो डिसीजन मेकिंग प्रोसेस कला इट इज आल्सो सपोर्टेड बाय natural immunity पाइले shelter पाइले even shade ମଧ୍ୟ पाइले that is also very helpful for human career personal next nobody would easily flout a decision that had been arrived at in a meeting under the tree but even when the decision was unpalatable to the party page the unpalatable decision it knew that behind it there was the seal of some power invisible and inaudible power listen some supernatural power is there and you must be knowing about Tamu is a girl of from Sambalpur perhaps but remember Ma Samalai is very throughout Odisha throughout India Matru Shakti तनु मानसिक गला तनु तो प्रेडिक्शन अछि बहुत दिको दीदी तार बीजेपी कॉलेज रे साइकोलॉजी तनु तनु को चाहे साइकोलॉजी डिग्री दीदी को साइकोलॉजिस्ट है ये को अलग लाइन टिल ने तनु को भल रहे बहुत फेस करिवे चैलेंज तार पोटेंशियल के फॉलो कंसंट्रेटिंग पावर तादरा एते में जे इन्फ्लुएंस हे जीव मोटिवेट हे जीव से बेले बेले तार आइडियोलॉजी की कोन कर टेस्ट करो दैट इज व्हाट कॉन्शियसनेस गोटे पिला केते बेले पाठ करे त अल्टरनेटिव इंग्लिश पिला मंतर गोटे जिंस देखे धीरे स्थिर बुद्धि प्रियंका गोटे अछि सुश्री अछि अनुषा अछि सेजी अछि प्रोबस्टी अछि आ भी आसेना किछि पिला हमर अछि पर्टिकुलरली दिगा हो अध्याय संप्रति जन जैसा जैसा कि आपने बोली एप्रूवल टाइप ऑफ हाइजीनिक सेक्टर फिजिकल व्हाटएवर दैट जो पिला माने अछि सबठु बड़ जिंस होछि कंसंट्रेशन जदि हम माइंड ऑफ फ्लक्चुएट हैला उदाहरण स्वरूप कहि गोटे वेसल आर्ट से वेसल रे कि पानी नै कि तमर एम ऑब्जेक्ट रहला घरे आनी कोन करे से पानी के रखी जते वेसल टा को तुम फुटेई देला घर पाखे पानी आसी पहुंची परिबे तनो वेसल रो कंसंट्रेशन सेटी कोन निजु गोटे कंटेनर भली काम करिवे तमर कंसंट्रेशन कोन वेसल को सिक्योर वे ना हम नॉलेज होची से नॉलेज ता रिस्टोरेशन करबा ते इजी नुए तमे जज करो प्रिजज करो गोटे लोक को मिसो गोटे टीचर संगे मिसो गोटे स्टूडेंट संगे मिसो गोटे को संगे मिसो गोटे जियो संगे मिसो ता संगे मिसवा द्वारा हमर बेनिफिट जो बेनिफिट हम गोल को एक्सपेक्टेशन को फिल अप कर मो घर पाखरु आसुची सीडीए रु मो बस कॉलेज पे when I am transporting myself from CDA to college square, a bus is available. I shall have to keep good relationship with a bus. But if I will predict a train, is it possible? Will it fulfill your goal? Try to understand my point of view. That is nothing but conscious. Train is better than that of bus. Still then, which will fulfill your basic needs, essentialities. Some essentiality को पूरा fulfillment करेगी. So education is a learning process. Our life is guided by certain type of stringent activities. Most of the time, different type of viruses will enter into our mind. How to concentrate in that particular sphere, students, we help us a lot. If you those tips at least 3 T's, particular T's, then it can bring concentration to your mind. That is a type of. ତେଣୁ ମୋର କହିବା ଉଦ୍ଦେଶ୍ୟ ହେଉଛି ତମେ एक्स वाई जेड ଯେତେ ଏଠି ଅଛ ସମସ୍ତ ଭିତରେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ତମର ଗୋଟେ କନସିୟସନେସ୍ ଅଫ ମାଇଣ୍ଡ ଆସିବ ଯେ ପ୍ରକୃତରେ ଆମ ପାଇଁ ଏସେନ୍ସିଆଲ ପାଠଟା କଣ କିଭଳି ଆମକୁ will help a lot then and there ତମ କରି ଆଉ unless and until we have some type of destination or goal we must not stress tree plantation ମଧ୍ୟ ସେଇ ଗୋଟେ ट्री की प्लांटेशन कला माने तार स्कोप और बेनिफिट हम कौन पाई परिबा जो बेनिफिट गुडा को हम लाइफ आ हमर सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट का फ्यूचर लाइफ सेटल मध्ये एटा कोन करबो कंट्रीब्यूट करबो दैट ऑट टू बी परफेक्ट एंड इफेक्टिव इट इज द मोरल ऑफ द चैप्टर ट्री की खाली प्लांटेशन कर देला हो ट्री नो बेनिफिट गुडा का यूजफुलनेस गुडा को आपको भल से जानिबो सो स्टूडेंट्स The tree was taken to be immortal by all without anybody having to be told about it. Immortality being an attribute of the goddess, it was the god. Nobody would easily doubt a decision that has been arrived at in a meeting under the tree. For even when the decision was unpalatable to the party, it knew that behind it there was a shield of some power, invisible and actually, students, when we are taking any type of a decision, the decision making process most of the time conflicting in nature. Most of the time quarrelsome in nature. ଯେତେବେଳେ ଆମେ କୋଉ ଗୋଟେ ଜାଗାରେ ବସିକିରି ଆମେ 6 ଜଣ ବସିକିରି ଡିସାଇଡ୍ କଲେ କୌଣସି କଥା ତେଣୁ ଗୋଟେ ଗଛ ମୂଳେ ଯଦି ଡିସାଇଡ୍ କରୁଥିବା ତାହେଲେ ଗଛର ସ୍ପିରିଚୁଆଲ ପାୱାର ବା ଡିଭାଇନ ପାୱାର ଅଛି ଯୋଉ ପାୱାରଟା ଆମ ଲାଇଫ କି କଣ କରିବା ଆମ କଣ କରିବ ଡିସିସନ ମେକିଂ ପ୍ରୋସେସରେ ବହୁତ ଗୁଡିଏ ହେଲ୍ପ କରିବ ଯଦି ଆମେ ସେ ପ୍ରୋସେସ ପାଖରୁ ଦୂରେଇକିରି ରହିଲେ ଅଲଗା ବିଲ୍ଡିଂ ର ଡିସିସନ ନବା ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ ଗଛ ମୂଳରେ ଡିସିସନ ନବା ଆଦିରେ କିଛି ଫରକ ଥିଲା ପିଲେ when we part of educational system and the initial part of it. You must be knowing about Gopabandhu, Satyavadi Monovidyalaya. Satyavadi Monovidyalaya. And you must be knowing about Rabindranath Tagore's Santiniketan. ये मैंने सब कौन एसी रूम पांचतला सातला बिल्डिंग रे चली थिला ओपन फील्ड रे ताकर एजुकेशनल बस स्कूल गुरुकुल आश्रम कथा कहता जो गुरुकुल आश्रम गुड़ा बहुत किछि लॉट ऑफ हेल्पिंग कर रिलेटेड टू आवर कैरियर बिल्डिंग कैरेक्टर केते बढ़िया इन्फ्लुएंसिंग थिला तेनु ट्री की जदि हम कंसीडर करिबा ट्री के हमर गोटा पाइपोटल कोली कंसीडर करबा हमर लाइफ पे ट्री हेल्प्स अ लॉट व्हिच इज इनएक्सप्रेसिबल जोटा हम लिसन स्टूडेंट्स बाबारे जो सेठी बोतल अछि टिके धोई देकरी एक्वागार्ड रो पानी बोतल एक्वागार्ड रो आनी the rain stopped, though not the wind. The first touch of the awe and excitement passed. They could all go back to their homes now to return again in batches in the morning. It was more out of the respect of the river to show that they had taken due note of our changing than from any fear of the floods that some people must always gather at our age. What is the topic? What the topic says? Actually, when there is flood, we worship the river. When there is no flood, most of the time we divert our minds. बन्या समय हमें नदी के नमस्कार तो बन्या न कर हमर किछ क्षति न जो बन्या सरी गला हमर भय सरी that is the inquisitivity it is the actually tranquility of human minds so most of the time what happens to be when we are planting trees and we take trees are immortal so far as our life history is concerned and when we are maintaining trees or when we are worshiping trees or when we are guiding the natural principle of a tree, we feel that trees are immortality being attributed to God. भगवानଙ୍କର ଯେମିତି ପ୍ରତି ଏଇଟା ଗୋଟେ ଆମ ପାଇଁ କଣ ପୂଜା ଅଭିଳାଷ ଅଭିଳାଷ ହେଇଯାଉଛି nobody easily brought out a decision ତେଣୁ ଆମେ ଯଦି କୌଣସି ପ୍ରକାର ଗୋଟେ decision ନଉଛେ ତାହେଲେ particularly tree ପକ୍ଷରୁ ଆମେ ଡାଇଭର୍ଟ ହେଇପାରୁନି କାରଣ କଣ tree ଗୋଟେ ଆମକୁ blessing ଦଉଛି ଏବଂ ଜଜ୍ କରୁଛୁ सत्य जेपरी कोन करूची हमर गोटा डिफाइन स्पिरिट आर्टिकुलेशन the students we must show our respect to rivers we must show our respect to trees when there is plantation of trees the climatic condition becomes affordable to drink water or rainwater to the earthen level by which it becomes enthralled to the river the rivers becomes well flooded or watered imperatively so what happens to be and they are gathered certain people the bank of the river they worship the river and pray that such type of flood must not come a crashing sound stunned them. Certainly the earth seems to rock. A few who were nearest the river were splashed. Had they been standing a few feet further, they would have been gone forever. In the dark, no one had observed the crack that had developed on the ground before the huge chunk on the blink slipped into the water. Most of the time I find that students, if the bank of the river is not well, ନଦୀ କୂଳେ କୂଳେ ଯଦି ଗଛ ନାହିଁ ତାହେଲେ କଣ କରିବ? ନଦୀ ବନ୍ଧର ଯୋଉ ଏମ୍ବାଙ୍କମେଣ୍ଟ ଗୁଡାକୁ ବର୍ଷା ପାଣି ଧୋଇ ନେଇଯିବ, ସଏଲ ଇରୋସନ ହବନି ନାଇଁ? ଯଦି ଗୋଟେ ଗଛ ଅଛି ଇନ ଦି ସେନ୍ସ, ଗଛ କଣ କରିବ? ରୁଟ ଗୁଡାକୁ ପୁରା ସେଟିଂ କରିକି ରଖିବ। ବା ଗୋଟେ ନଈ କୂଳରେ ବୃହତ ଗଛ ଅଛି, ବନ୍ୟା ପାଣି ଯେତେ ଆସୁ ସେପଟେ ତ କଣ କରିବ? ଷ୍ଟ୍ରଙ୍ଗ ଥିବ କୋଉଟା? ନଈ ଗୁଡା, କାରଣ ଗଛ ଗୁଡା ଚେରି କରି ଆଉକି ଧରିବ। ଯେତେବେଳେ ଗଛଟି ଉପୁଡିଗଲା ସେଇ ଜାଗାରେ ହିଁ ଏମ୍ବାଙ୍କମେଣ୍ଟ ହେଇଯିବ, ନଈର ଧାର, ନଈ ଘାଇ ହେଇଯିବ, ଯୋଉଟା ଆମେ ଏମ୍ବାଙ୍କମେଣ୍ଟ। ସୋ ଯଦି ଆମେ ଦେଖିବା, ଗଛ ରେନ ୱାଟର ପାଇଁ ଆମକୁ ସପୋର୍ଟ ଦେଲା, ଫ୍ଲଡ ପାଇଁ ଆମକୁ ସପୋର୍ଟ ଦେଲା, ପୁଣି ଗଛ ଆମକୁ ସେଭ୍ ଆଉ ସଫ୍ଟୱେୟାର ଯୋଗାଉଛି ଯେତେବେଳେ ସେ ଅଛି କଣ କି ବ୍ୟାକ୍ ଅଫ ଦି ରିଭର, ନଦୀ କୂଳରେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଗଛଟା ଅଛି ପ୍ରୋଟେକ୍ସନ ଦଉଛି, ଅର୍ଥାତ କଣ? ଏମ୍ବାଙ୍କମେଣ୍ଟ ହଉନି, ଅର୍ଥାତ ନଦୀ Nirakar Das, the retired head pandit of the primary school, shouted, "Come away, come away, he was." The authoritative voice was instantly over. ଯେତେବେଳେ କଣ ହେଲା ନା, ନଈ ବନ୍ଧ ତମେ ଦେଖିବ ହଠାତ୍ ଏକ୍ସେସିଭ ବନ୍ୟା ଜଳ ପଡି ହେଇଗଲା, ନଦୀଟା ପୁରା ଓଭରଫ୍ଲୋ ହେଇଗଲା, ସେତେବେଳେ ନଈରେ ଗୋଟେ କ୍ରାକିଂ ଦେଖାଦବ, ଗୋଟେ ଶବ୍ଦ ଦେଖାଯିବ, ଯୋଉ ଶବ୍ଦ କଣ କରିବ? ନଈ ବନ୍ଧକୁ ଫଟେଇ ଦବ। ନଈ ବନ୍ଧ ଫାଟିଲା ମାନେ କଣ ହେଲା? ତାର ବି ଫ୍ଲୋଇଂ ଅଫ ୱାଟର, ସେଠି ଗୋଟେ ଏମ୍ବାଙ୍କମେଣ୍ଟ ହେଇଯିବ। ସେ ଏରିଆର ନିରାକାର ଦାସ ଥିଲେ ପ୍ରାଇମେରୀ ସ୍କୁଲର ଟିଚର, ସେ ମଧ୍ୟ କଣ କରୁଥିଲେ? ଆଡଭାଇଜ କରୁଥିଲେ ପିପୁଲ ମାନଙ୍କୁ ଯେ କମ୍ ଆୱେ ୟୁ ଆର୍, ସମସ୍ତେ କଣ ଆସିଯାଅ। And the authoritative voice was instantly obeyed. Authoritative voice means the commanding voice was obeyed routinely or obeyed systematically or obeyed, I mean, going to the head pandit of the village orally. ନୈତିକର ସହିତ ଯିଏ ଯେତେବେଳେ ବଡ ଲୋକମାନେ ଆମେ ଟିକେ ସେ ହେଡ ପଣ୍ଡିତ ଥିଲେ, ତାଙ୍କର ଡିସିସନ ଟାକୁ ସମସ୍ତେ ମାନୁଥିଲେ। ପଳେଆସ ଲୋକମାନେ, କାହିଁକି ନଈର ଘାଇ ହବ, ନଈରେ କ୍ରାକିଂ ହେଲାଣି, ଆଉ ସେ ଜାଗାରେ କେହି ଛିଡା ହବନି, ବରଂ ନିଜେ ନିଜର ସର୍କର ଯାଉଛି। 24 ପେଜ ଦେଖିବା କାଲି ଯେ ତମେ वी ऑल ତମେ ମୋତେ ଟିକେ କଣ୍ଟାକ୍ଟ କରିବ ଯେ ତମେ ପଳେଇ ଆସ, ପଢେଇ ଦେବି, କାହିଁକିନା ଆମେ ଯେତେ ଶୀଘ୍ର କୋର୍ସ ସାରିଦେବା ତମେ ଭଲ, ମୁଁ ଭଲ, ସମସ୍ତେ କିଏ କୁଆଡେ ନଭେମ୍ବର ଡିସେମ୍ବର ହେଲେ ପିଲାମାନେ ଆଉ ତାପରେ ଏକ୍ଜାମ ହେଇଗଲେ ଆମେ ତା ପୂର୍ବରୁ ସବୁଗୁଡା ସାରି ନବା। ଆଉ ଯୋଉଠି ଯେତେ ଆସୁଛି ପବ୍ଲିକେସନ, ନ୍ୟୁ ପବ୍ଲିକେସନ ଆସିବ, ଅଲ୍ଟରନେଟିଭ ପଢିଦବା ହେଲା। କେମିତି ପଢିବା? ତମ ଅଲ୍ଟରନେଟିଭ ଯୋଉ ପିଲା ଅଛ, ଆମର ଆଉ 2 ଜଣ ରହୁଛନ୍ତି, ଜଣେ ରହୁଛି କୃତିକା, ଆଉ 2 ଜଣ ରହୁଛନ୍ତି, ରହିଲେ 8 ଜଣ ହେଇଯିବ। ସେ ଅନୁସାରେ ତା ଉପରେ ଡିପେଣ୍ଡ କରି ବସିବ। ଫିର ବି ଯୋଉ 8 ଜଣ ରହିଲେ ଗୋଟେ ପୁରା କମ୍ବାଇନ ବୋଲେ, ମୁଁ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଯୋଉ ଦିନ କହିବି ଏକ୍ସଟ୍ରା କ୍ଲାସ ନେଇ ସାରିବା, ଛୁଟି ଦିନ ଗୁଡାରେ କ୍ଲାସ ନେଇଯିବା। ଆଉ ଦଶହରା ଛୁଟି ବେଳକୁ ତ ବୋଧେ ପିଲା ଦଶହରା ଆସିବେ, 4-5 ଦିନ ଛୁଟି ହେଇଯିବ, ତ ଦଶହରା ଛୁଟି ଭିତରେ ଆମର 18 ଦିନ କ୍ଲାସ ବି ରହୁଛି। ତା ପୂର୍ବରୁ ଆମେ ଦେଖିବା କେମିତି ନେଇଯାଉ, ଅନ୍ୟ କଣ୍ଟ୍ରାକ୍ଟର ପଳେଇ ଆସି କ୍ଲାସ ସରିଯାଉ, ସରିଗଲେ ଭଲ। ମୁଁ ତ କାଲି ସାଇନ୍ସ କ୍ଲାସରେ କହୁଥିଲି କେମିତି ଅକ୍ଟୋବର ଭିତରେ ସାଇନ୍ସ ପିଲାମାନଙ୍କର କମ୍ପଲସରି ଇଂଲିଶ ସରିଗଲେ ତାଙ୍କର ନଭେମ୍ବର ଡିସେମ୍ବର ସାଇନ୍ସର ବହୁତ ଗୁଡା ପାଠ ରହିଲାଣି ନା, ଫିଜିକ୍ସ, କେମିଷ୍ଟ୍ରି, ମ୍ୟାଥମେଟିକ୍ସ, ବାୟୋଲୋଜି, ସେ ତାକୁ ପଢିବେ ନା। ତେଣୁ ଯେତେ ଶୀଘ୍ର ଷ୍ଟୋରି ଗୁଡା ସରିଗଲେ ଭଲ। ଆଉ ଏମସିକ୍ୟୁ ପାଟର୍ନ ପଳେଇ ଆସିଲାଣି, ଏମସିକ୍ୟୁ ପାଟର୍ନରେ ଏକ୍ସରସାଇଜ ଗୁଡା ଆମେ କରିବା, ପ୍ଲସ ଏମସିକ୍ୟୁ ପାଟର୍ନ ବି ରିଡିଂ କରିବା। ଏଇ ଜାଗାରେ ଗୋଟେ ଦେଇଦେଲ ପେଜ ନମ୍ବର 67 ର 24 ରୁ ଷ୍ଟାର୍ଟ କରିବ। You are having psychology or education? Education. ଆଉ ତାର ଏଜୁକେସନ ଅଛି ତମ ଯେତିକି ଯେତିକି you are the education students. तो पूरा psychology in concept, you are having psychology. तो अभिप सर साइकोलॉजी अच्छी हैं, अभिप सर नहीं psychology. Shruti, you don't have psychology or education. What are your subjects? Logic, economics, history, political. So, economics, political science, education, logic is good. Huh? Logic eight of the bus stop will be a combination. Huh? Okay, better serious age. Can 89.99 or 90% ଭିତରେ ଫରକ ଅଛି ଲାଗିଲେ ହେଇଯିବ ତମେ ସିରିୟସଲି ପଢାପଢି କର ଯାହା ଯେତେ ଦରକାର ଆଇ ୱିଲ୍ ପ୍ରୋଭାଇଡ କିନ୍ତୁ ଟିକେ ପ୍ରାକ୍ଟିକାଲ ସବଜେକ୍ଟ ଥିଲେ ସ୍କୋରିଂ ଟା ଅଲଗା ପଡେ ସ୍ମୃତି କି ଆମକୁ ବହୁତ ହେଲ୍ପ କରିବ ତା ହ୍ୟାଣ୍ଡ ରାଇଟିଂ ତମର ବି ଆମର ହ୍ୟାଣ୍ଡ ରାଇଟିଂ ଅଛି ଫିର ବି ଆଉ ଟିକେ ପ୍ରାକ୍ଟିକାଲ ସବଜେକ୍ଟ ଫୋକସ କରିବାକୁ ପଡିବ ବେଟର ୱେରେ ଟିକେ ଏକ୍ସଟ୍ରା ବୁକ୍ ସବୁବେଳେ କମ୍ପିଟେଟର ମାନଙ୍କୁ ଫଲୋ କର ସେମାନେ କେମିତି ଲେଖୁଛନ୍ତି ତମେ କେମିତି ଅଲଗା ପ୍ରକାର ଷ୍ଟାଣ୍ଡାର୍ଡାଇଜ ଫର୍ମ ଲେଖିବ ଆଉ ପ୍ଲସ୍ ଟୁ ରେ ପରସେଣ୍ଟେଜ ରେ ହ୍ୟାଣ୍ଡ ରାଇଟିଂ ର କିଛି ନା କିଛି ଇମ୍ପୋର୍ଟାନ୍ସ ହ୍ୟାଣ୍ଡ ରାଇଟିଂ ଭଲ ତମର ଏବେ କଣ ଅଛି ଝିଅ ପଲିଟିକାଲ ସାଇନ୍ସ ଅଛି ଆଜି ଅଛି ହଷ୍ଟେଲ ପିଲାଙ୍କ ହଉ ଦେଖିବା କାଲି ଯଦି କୋଉ ଟାଇପରେ ତମେ ଫ୍ରି ହେଇପାରିବ କାଲି ଆମର ରହିଲା ମଣ୍ଡେ ତ ସେଇଆ କହୁଛି ପଳେଇ ଆସିଲେ ସରିଯାନ୍ତା ମଣିଗର ରହିଯିବ ତ ମୁଁ 8ଟା ପରେ ହେଲେ ହବ କାଲି ହେଲା ମଣ୍ଡେ ମଣ୍ଡେ ଗଲେ କାଲି ସକାଳ 8ଟାରେ ଆସିବ ଫାର୍ଷ୍ଟ ବି ଅଲମୋଷ୍ଟ ଫ୍ରି ଫ୍ରାଙ୍କଲି ତମର ଯେ କିଛି ପ୍ରୋବ୍ଲେମ ଅଛି ନା ସେ ଝିଅ ନା କଣ 8ଟା ବେଳେ କାଲି ମର୍ଣ୍ଣିଂରେ ଆସିପାରିବ ଆସିବ ଏକ୍ସଟ୍ରା କ୍ଲାସ ରଖିଦେବା କାଲି ଅନୁ ଆସିବ ହଁ ସକାଳ 8ଟାରେ କାହିଁକି ମୁଁ ଅଲଗା କୋଚିଂ ରେ କ୍ଲାସ ଅଛି ତାକୁ ଟାଇମ ଚେଞ୍ଜ କରିଦେଇ ତମ ଏଠି ସେ ପଢେଇକି ସେଠିକି ଯିବି ବେଟର ହବ କାହିଁକି ଚାପ୍ଟର ଗୋଟେ ମୋର ପଢେଇବାର ଅଛି ପଢିଦେଲେ ଚାପ୍ଟର ଏମସିକ୍ୟୁ ରେ ଏମତି ହେଲ୍ପ କରିବ କାଲି ଆସିପାରିବୁ ପ୍ରିୟଙ୍କା ସକାଳେ ହଁ? ତୁ କେମିତି ବାବା ଛାଡି ଦେଇଗଲେ ପଟରେ ପଳେଇ ଆସିବୁ ଏଇ କେତେ ଦିନ ଟିକେ ପଳେଇବା ହେଲା ପଟରେ ପଳେଇବା ହଉ ପିଲା କାଲି ସକାଳ 8ଟାରେ ମୁଁ ଟିକେ ଚିନ୍ମୟ ସାର୍ କହିଦଉଛି କାଲି 8ଟାରେ ରଖିବ କ୍ଲାସ ହେଲା ଏଇଠି କ୍ଲାସ ହବ ପଲିଟିକାଲ ସାଇନ୍ସ ସାର୍ କହିଲେ କାଲି ସକାଳ 8ଟାରେ ଅଲ୍ଟରନେଟିଭ ଇଂଲିଶ ଏକ୍ସଟ୍ରା କ୍ଲାସ